Hey guys, what's up? So, this is the video that I promised in the little update video that I just did. Pardon the mess in the background, I still gotta do a little bit of cleaning. But, guess what we're gonna be talking about today in today's theory video? Too late, I'm already gonna answer for you. We're gonna talk about what's gonna happen in Volume 7, specifically involving the Atlas military, Winter, and Ironwood. Now, really, anything that involves the Schnee, I really feel like is gonna just all loop right back into the family, because the Schnee Dust Company is a company that basically, like, almost for the most part, like, has a grip on the world. Because remember, dust powers everything. Dust is everything in the world of Remnant. It powers their weapons. It powers their trains. It's their gas source. Sorry, that was my TV turning off. It's their fuel source. It's the source of. It's what most of their bullets are made out of. It's what like some of their clothes are made out of. Like, dust is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. So it's like, if the Schnee Dust Company, like, wants to do something, it can do whatever it wants, for the most part, And so, that's one of the reasons why I am very, very suspicious of Weiss's father. Not just for the simple fact that he is absolutely, totally, 100%, no doubt about it, a scumbag, but the armored knight that Weiss was fighting in the White trailer. If you go through the manga and you read that, you find out that that thing is actually part Grimm, which makes sense as to why Weiss can summon it, because if you think about it, Weiss has never been shown summoning, like, Atlesian Knight soldiers that she's taken out, or anything like that. It's only ever been shown that she's able to summon the Grimm. So, that makes sense why she's able to summon the Knight, because it's half Grimm, or part Grimm, or possessed by a Geist Grimm, or something like that. We're never really explicitly told what it is. I think it said that the armor is a hybrid of Atlesian technology and Grimm. So it's very hard to tell, exactly what it is. I'm not really looking at the exact manga chapter right now, so I couldn't really tell you. But she can only summon the Grimm that she kills. So that being the case, when we get to Atlas, like, shit's gonna be crazy, okay? And connecting everything back to the family and everything, Winter is a member of the Atlas military, but she's you would have to think that she was offered the heirship before Weiss was. She's the eldest child of the Schnee Dust family, so it only makes sense. However, it kind of seems like after Weiss's mom, we don't really have her official name. We just call her Willow. But after Willow married Jacques, it seems like, she lost the position of heiress somehow, and then he gained it, and then, he made the company what it is now. Now, one thing that I want to find out is Weiss's grandfather, Nicholas, he obviously had a wife, because, they had a daughter who got married, had Weiss. So, my theory is that, well, this is what, and mind you, this is just one part of the video, but my theory is that, and this is, like I said, gonna also loop back to the Maidens, that Weiss's grandmother, whoever she is, whatever her name is, was the Winter Maiden. She died. Her powers got passed on either to her daughter, or they got passed on to Winter, because I don't think we were ever explicitly told that Weiss's grandfather is dead. We're never told that either him or his wife are dead, and we know for a fact that they are people. It just makes sense that they exist. It's not like just because in the show that they would be old doesn't mean that they're dead, and just because they haven't been mentioned doesn't mean that they don't exist. So, yeah, that's my theory regarding that. So, at some point during her life, Winter could have, been visiting her grandmother. Her grandmother could have been, at death's door, and she could have confided this secret, and Winter, like, listen, I'm going to die. You were going to be the last person in my thought, because at this point, if her mother was still, if Weiss and Winter, if their grandmother was still alive, and they saw, and she's seen what's happened to Weiss's mom, to Weiss's mother, her daughter, how she's basically let the company go to crap, how she married a total scumbag, and how she's a total alcoholic lush. Mixing up my words. It's like, she would probably be disappointed in her daughter, and she may or may not be thinking about her in her final moments of death, but she may be thinking about her grandchildren, So that's a way that the power could have gone to Winter, and most likely probably did go to Winter. Weiss may not have been born at this point. we don't exactly know. So now, people's biggest argument against this would be, well, in her fight with Crow, she didn't display any Maiden powers. Well, it's like, using Maiden powers, using magic is a choice. You don't have to use it. Winter has her semblance, and she can use, or possibly theoretically could use, the Maiden powers whenever she wants to. She just chose in that fight with Crow it wasn't necessary, because it would have been overkill, and she would have blown cover. Speaking of cover, I think Ironwood definitely knows. He definitely knows, because it's like, Winter being the Winter Maiden, and also her name, it just makes sense. Her being a maiden, basically for the most part, would make her a weapon of mass destruction, because that's literally what the maidens are. Like, they have the ability to control the elements, any element that they want, and based on what we know about the world of Rwby, I don't think that, like, it's probably just limited to, like, wind, lightning, fire, and all that kind of stuff. I think they could probably do more, because we just don't know the full scope of their powers. We just don't. So that being the case, do you really think that someone as paranoid as Ironwood would just let the Winter Maiden go wandering around? No! No, he would keep her close by at all times. And now, if you go back to volume 4, I think it was volume 4, episode 8, I believe. It was the episode when Weiss was trying to escape from the house, and Ironwood was in Jacques' office, and they were talking, and, you know, Jacques makes mention that, you know, Ironwood doesn't trust anyone but himself, and then Ironwood slams his fist down on the table and says, for good reason, and that just instantly puts it in your head that even with Ozpin, he doesn't trust Ozpin, even though he says he does. And then, you know, it's like, already he's proven that he doesn't trust Ozpin with information because he kept Penny a secret. Ozpin had no idea that Penny was an android. He had no idea that she was a robot. And then immediately, as soon as Ironwood thought that Ironwood thought that Ozpin was gonna find out, he called Ozpin on the phone and was like, Ozpin, the girl, let me explain. And Ozpin just cut him off, and he was like, you brought your army to my kingdom, use it. And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. Ozpin didn't care. He was like, listen, you brought an army to my city to defend my city, to my kingdom, use it, please. Ironwood obeyed and did what he had to do. So, that being said, like, and that also loops back around to Penny. How was Penny created? Now, obviously, we saw that she had a creator. She mentioned that she had a father. And, you know, it's most likely that Penny is going to... Well, Penny was a reference to Pinocchio, and her father is going to be a reference to Geppetto. But, you know, the popular theory is that he's also going to be a reference to Dr. Light, because Penny was also kind of a little bit like Mega Man, I guess. More like Astro Boy, if you think about it. But you get the reference. So, that being the case, that also leads me to believe that Dr. Watts is in direct league with the Schnee Dust Company, and he's the one who has come up with these experiments involving combining Grimm with technology, and he's got his hand in the Schnee Dust Company, which by extension means Salem has her hand in the Schnee Dust Company to a certain extent, if that's the case. And then it's like Watts was also able to get Penny's blueprints. That also leads me to believe that he had some hand in her creation, because you don't have the ability to get blueprints that detailed like that, and you just didn't have a part in it, unless he's just incredibly good at hacking or something like that. But I really honestly think he had something to do with it, and the reason why he's a disgraced scientist is because, like, he basically tried to, like, at first, the process was, okay, we're gonna rip the aura out of someone else and stuff it into a robot. But, you know, the Dr. Light of the situation was like, no, let's try to use something else to create a soul and put that in a robot. So, that leads me to believe that Winter, using the abilities of the Winter Maiden, opened up the Maiden Vault that Ozpin had closed, and the nation of Atlas has been using the Staff of Creation ever since then to advance their technology and all of their society since then. The relic isn't behind a door; it's actually being used somewhere by someone constantly. And Winter is just allowed to go about and do what she does. She doesn't need to guard the relic, because the relic is being used and technically guarded by Atlas and the Schnee Dust Company because, you know, Atlas is a giant floating city. Would be a shame if it fell. But, you know, you get what I mean. So, that's the general theory there. There's not really much else to say about it. I just wanted to talk about it because it's like, all of it lines up. All of it adds up. It really does. Because if you think about it, right, the line of succession would go like this, right? And it makes sense because Weiss's grandfather is Nicholas Schnee, and the Schnees are like all about winter and all that kind of stuff. So you can obviously make the connection that Weiss's grandfather was technically Santa. So who's the wife of Santa? Mrs. Claus. So it would make a lot of sense if Mrs. Claus had magical winter powers. You know what I mean? Like the Winter Maiden's preferred method of magic would likely be ice magic. Just makes sense, right? And every continent most likely has a maiden on it because it's like in Vale we had the Fall Maiden, Mistral, the Spring Maiden, Atlas, Winter Maiden, Vacuo, Summer Maiden. It just makes sense. Now, like I keep on saying, and every single time I bring this up, it's not going to break the power dynamic or the team dynamic of the show. It's just not. Because it's like, it's clearly set up that the 4 girls are going to get the power. And honestly, like I said before a million times, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I honestly firmly believe that that is going to be the case. Because it's like, you don't set up that there are 4 powers, 4 main girls, 4 relics, and 4 nations, and just not think that there's going to be a line of succession there. I get that people think that it's cliche, but cliches can be done in a way where they're done creatively. It's just a matter of execution, that's all. So it's like, Winter could be the Winter Maiden, and then, say for example, Cinder comes into play, and she kills Winter, and then tries to get the power, but she doesn't get it, and then Winter gets the power, Weiss gets the power, and then at some point, Raven could come in. Raven could fight, sorry about that, that's my computer. Raven could fight against Cinder again, round 2, and then either Raven dies in this fight, or she wins, and then Salem just goes off, licks her wounds, and then tries to come back and fight again later, you know, getting more and more power hungry and more angry at the team as a whole, not just Rwby, but everyone in general. Like, we still needed to find out, you know, not Salem's backstory, Cinder's backstory. We already got Salem's backstory. We just need to find out what the hell Salem's plan is. So, once we find all that out, we'll be good to go. But really, that's all I've really got to say. Like, you know, I've already brought up that I think that Weiss is going to end up being the Winter Maiden by the end. Winter is going to die at some point, I really honestly believe. Raven is going to die, and Yang will become the Maiden after that. Cinder will probably end up dying last in that succession, then Rwby will become a Maiden, and then somehow Blake will become a Maiden. I'm just not sure how yet. So, really, that's all I really got to say. If you guys got any thoughts, opinions, like, comment, subscribe, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down, whichever you prefer. It helps me out a lot. Like I said, in my update video, I'm still going to be trying to wrap my head around how to figure out, like, video editing, how to, like, get an intro in here and all that kind of stuff. I'm still kind of new at all this, and, you know, life is really stressful right now, so I'm just doing this mostly as a way to vent and, you know, get to talking to you guys and maybe, you know, find a little stride again. So, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.